Dear students, today we will talk about the special senses ear. The structure of ear is divided into three parts: external ear, middle ear and internal ear. The external ear comprises of the auricle or pinna, which is fibrocartilaginous plate, and there are so many folds. It comprises of sweat glands as well as there are the muscles in the animals, but it is rudimentary in the human being. External ear also contains the external auditory canal and external auditory meatus. The external auditory canal contains two things: outer cartilaginous part and inner bony part. Outer cartilaginous part contains so many sebaceous glands and ceruminous glands which forms wax. Inner bony part also contains the sebaceous glands as well as small hairs are also present. Then there is a middle ear. Middle ear or tympanic cavity is a small, narrow, irregular, laterally compressed chamber situated within the temporal bone. It is separated from external auditory meatus by tympanic membrane. Middle ear consists of the structures like auditory ossicles, auditory muscles and eustachian tube. The auditory ossicles are three. The one is malleus, like hammer. Then it is attached to the incus or anvil. And then there is a smallest bone which is a stapes. The tympanic membrane has lateral cutaneous layer, intermediate fibrous layer and the medial mucous layer or tympanic mucosa. The auditory ossicles, the malleus is attached to the tympanic membrane and then it is attached to the incus and then it is attached to the stapes. Stapes is also known as stirrup. The footplate of the stapes fits into the oval window of the internal ear. The muscles are tensor tympani muscle as well as the stapedius muscle. Eustachian tube or auditory tube is a flattened canal extending from the anterior wall of middle ear into the nasopharynx. Its upper part is surrounded by bony wall and the lower part is surrounded by fibrocartilaginous plate. It connects the middle ear with the posterior part of the nose and forms the passage of air between the middle ear and the atmosphere and maintains the pressure in the middle ear cavity. Now comes the internal ear. Internal ear comprises of basically two parts. One is a cochlea, which is similar to the cochlea snail shell, and another is a semicircular canals, three semicircular canals. The cochlea is related with the hearing and the semicircular canals are related with the balancing. So now we will further learn about the internal ear. compartments of cochlea. Basically, cochlea is a circular structure. It is a coiled structure like a snail's shell. It consists of two structures, central conical axis formed by spongy bone and the bony canal or tube. The compartments of cochlea are two membranous partitions extend between the osseous spiral lamina and the outer wall of spiral canal. Both the membranes divide the spiral canal of cochlea into three compartments. The basilar membrane and the vestibular membrane, these two divides the canal into first two major canals, scala vestibuli and the scala tympani. The central cochlear tube is the another one, which is also known as scala media. The scala media is also known as cochlear duct or membranous cochlea or otic cochlea. It is a triangular compartment enclosed by basilar and vestibular membranes. The upper wall or vestibular wall is formed by vestibular membrane. Outer wall is formed by spiral ligament, which is a thickening of periosteum, and the lower wall is formed by the basilar membrane. The basilar membrane contains the organ of Corti, where the end organs of reception, sensory receptors of hearing are present. And these receptors give fibers or origination to the cochlear nerve, which carry further the senses of hearing towards the brain via auditory pathway. So now we will talk about the organ of Corti. Organ of Corti is the receptor organ for hearing. It is neuroepithelial structure in cochlea. Organ of Corti rests upon the lip of the osseous spiral lamina and the basilar membrane. It extends throughout the cochlear duct, except a short distance at the either end. At the either end, where the bony canal curves, scala vestibuli and scala tympani meet, and the cochlear duct is absent, this portion is actually known as helicotrema. The scala media fluid contains fluid which is known as endolymph, while the scala vestibuli and scala tympani contains the fluid which is known as perilymph. So now again, organ of Corti. It rests upon the lip of the osseous spiral lamina and the basilar membrane. It contains the sensory elements called hair cells and other supporting cells. So these are the hair cells, and there are so many other supporting cells. So the first supporting cell is a border cell which support the inner hair cell. Now we'll talk about the inner hair cell. It is a flask-shaped body, flask-shaped cells. These are the receptors, and the surface of the inner hair cell bears a cuticular plate, number of short stiff hairs which are called stereocilia. There are in each hair cell about 100 stereocilia is there, either the inner hair cell or outer hair cell. One of the stereocilia is larger and also known as kinocilium. They are in contact with the tectorial membrane. There is also other supporting cells like inner phalangeal cells, finger-like cells support the inner hair cells, inner and outer pillar cells which support this canal, inner and outer pillar cells, and then there is outer phalangeal cells, finger-like cells which support the outer hair cells. The outer hair cells are at the superficial part of the epithelium of organ of Corti, and they are similar to the inner hair cells in case of the stereocilia, and they touch also the tectorial membrane. There are also cells of Henson and cells of Claudius which form the external part and lower surface of the external spiral sulcus. The tectorial membrane extends from vestibular lip up to the cells of Henson. It forms the roof of organ of Corti. It is in contact with the process of hair cells. And whenever there is a movement of the tectorial membrane due to the movement of the perilymph and endolymph, the movement is sensed by the hair cells and the generated action potential is carried via sensory and motor neurons of the cochlear branch of the vestibulocochlear nerve. Lamina reticularis covers the organ of Corti. So now, mechanism of hearing. The sound waves hit the eardrum and they are focused via eardrum into the external ear canal. The vibration of the from the external auditory meatus, they enter into the eardrum or the tympanic membrane. Tympanic membrane vibrates and thus in the middle ear three small bones, malleus, incus and stapes vibrated and amplify the sound 22 times. The bones tap on the cochlea which is filled with the fluid, perilymph and endolymph. Cochlea is lined by the ciliated cells that bend in response to the vibration. That is, we are talking about the movement of the tectorial membrane and stereocilia. Movement of the cilia signals the neurons. There is a stimulation to the cochlear nerve which reaches up to the temporal bone. How the volume is amplified? Volume changes is determined by the amplitude of the sound waves, which translates into the frequency of action potential. Pitch differences. Pitch is the differences in the sound wave frequencies, which is distinguished by the stimulating hair cells in the different parts of the cochlea. So thus, through the perilymph and endolymph, sound energy travels through the internal ear and then from the stapes to the internal ear in the cochlear tubes, and the generated action potential is carried via cochlear nerve up to the auditory cortex. The sound waves translated as per the pressure move through the cochlea, dissipating at the round window. So through the vestibular canal to the apex to the tympanic canal, ascending the cochlea to the tip and then descending the cochlea. Thus, the tectorial membrane is vibrated in the organ of Corti and hair cell are bent. It stimulates the opening of ion channels and release of the neurotransmitters at the synapse. Postsynaptic neurons in the cochlear nerve conducts the action potential to the temporal lobe of the brain. So now we are moving towards the next topic, which is auditory pathway. So originated auditory nerve or cochlear nerve from the hair cells. The receptors are hair cells in the organ of Corti. They receive the auditory sensation. The hair cells are of two types, outer and inner hair cells that we know. They are innervated by the nerve fibers, and the afferent nerve fibers from the hair cells form the auditory nerve. The first order neurons of the auditory pathway are bipolar cells of spiral ganglion situated in the modulus of the cochlea. The peripheral short processes or dendrites of the bipolar cells are distributed around the hair cells of the organ of Corti as afferent nerve fibers, and the long processes leave the ear as a cochlear nerve fibers and enter into the medulla oblongata. In medulla oblongata, these fibers divide into two groups which end on the ventral cochlear nucleus and dorsal cochlear nucleus of the same side in the medulla oblongata. Ventral and dorsal cochlear nuclei on the same side. The second order neurons of dorsal and ventral cochlear nuclei in the medulla oblongata form the second order neuron of the auditory pathway. The axons of second order neurons run into four different groups. They cross the midline and run to the opposite side into the trapezoid body. They supply the superior olivary nucleus. The second group of fibers terminate into the lateral lemniscus, into the nuclei of the lateral lemniscus. They reach also up to the intermediate trapezoid body. Thus, we can say that the nerve fibers from the cochlear nuclei reach up to the superior olivary nucleus up of both the sides, same side as well as opposite side, and also to the inferior olivary nucleus, medial geniculate body, and then up to the auditory cortex. So here the third order neurons from the superior olivary nuclei and the nuclei of the lateral lemniscus they reach up to the medial geniculate body, which forms the subcortical auditory center. And then fibers from the medial geniculate body go to the temporal cortex via internal capsule as a auditory radiation. Some fibers from the medial geniculate body go to the inferior colliculus of the tectum in the brain. The fibers of auditory radiation are involved in a reflex movement of head in response to the auditory stimuli. The cortical auditory centers are the primary auditory area, which includes the area number 41, area number 42 and Wernicke's area. The secondary auditory area, or which is also known as auditopsychic area, includes area number 22. Area number 41 and 42 situated in the anterior transverse gyrus and the lateral surface of the superior temporal gyrus. Wernicke's area is in the upper part of the superior temporal gyrus, posterior to the areas 41 and 42. Area number 22 occupies the superior temporal gyrus. So this is about the auditory cortex. Now about the semicircular canals. The semicircular canals are related with the balancing. The semicircular canals, they are above the cochlea and filled with the gel-like substance containing otoliths. Otoliths are also known as ear stones. They are calcium carbonate granules and they are denser than the gel also. Hair cells in the contact with the otoliths, the gravity causes movement of the otoliths to pull downward the hair cells. Direction of the bend indicates the position to the brain. Thus, any movement or change of position is identified by the semicircular canals and they are related with the maintenance of the balance. So, whenever there is an inflammation of the internal ear, which is also known as labyrinthitis, the function of balancing is affected and it is associated with vertigo. The major applied physiology of the ear is related with the hearing damage, sometimes due to overly loud noises which damage the cochlear cilia. This damage can be detected in clinics by the instrument called audiogram. Audiometry is the technique which is used to determine the nature and severity of auditory defect. During the test by audiometer, the subject's ability to hear the sounds with 8 to 10 different frequencies is observed, and the hearing loss is determined for each frequency by using these values. The audiogram is plotted. Normally, we can hear the sounds between the 20 to 60 decibels. The several tests are done to know about the deafness further. The one is Rini's test. In Rini's test, base of the vibrating tuning fork is placed on mastoid process until the subject cannot feel the vibration and cannot hear the sound. When the subject does not hear the sound anymore, the tuning fork is held in air in front of the ear on the same side. Normal person hears the vibration of air even after the bone conduction ceases, because in the normal conditions the air conduction via ossicles is better than bone conduction. In conductive deafness, that is majoritarily related with the middle ear, the vibration in air are not heard after cessation of the bone conduction. So in conductive deafness, the bone conduction is better than the air conduction. In nerve deafness related to internal ear and cochlear nerve, both air conduction and bone conduction are diminished or lost. The another test is a Weber test. Here, the tuning fork is vibrated, and then the base of the tuning fork is placed on the vertex of the skull or in the middle of the forehead. Normal person hears the sound equally on both the sides. In the unilateral conduction deafness, that is a deafness in one ear, the sound is heard louder in the deceased ear, because in a normal ear the sound is heard is masked in the environmental noise. The sound through the bone conduction is not heard clearly on the affected side. In the affected side, sound is louder due to the absence of the masking effect of the environmental noise. In the unilateral nerve deafness, sound is heard louder in normal ear. So now we know that there are two types of the deafness: conductive deafness and the sensory neural deafness. In the conductive deafness, there is an impairment in the transmission of the sound waves in the external ear or middle ear. The causes are obstruction of the external auditory meatus with dry wax or foreign bodies, thickening of tympanic membrane due to repeated middle ear infection, perforation of tympanic membrane, otitis media or otosclerosis, fixation of footplate of the stapes against the oval window due to ankylosis. In the sensory neural deafness, there is a damage of any structure in the cochlea such as hair cell, organ of Corti, basilar membrane or cochlear duct, or lesion in the auditory pathway, that is auditory nerve. The causes are degeneration of hair cells by some antibiotics like streptomycin and gentamicin, damage of cochlea by prolonged exposure to loud noise, or tumor in the 8th cranial nerve. Thus, the sensory neural deafness, the person's hearing loss is more. Thank you, students.